In 8.4, we're going to add and subtract rational expressions that don't have common denominators. And just like with fractions, the first thing we have to do is find the common denominator. Now the first questions are just going to ask what is the least common denominator. So here we do actually find the least. So we have, say, 5 over x squared plus 7x plus 10 and 8x over x squared plus 5x plus 6. And we have to find the least common denominator. The first thing we do is factor both of the denominators. So here we're going to have x plus 5, x plus 2, and here we're going to have x plus 3, x plus 2. So now what we have to do is just find everything that we have, and if we have something more than once in one fraction, then we have to use it that many times. Here we don't have that. We have an x plus 5 that we have to use. We have an x plus 2. And then we have an x plus 3. And since this x plus 2 was in the other fraction, we don't need to add it again. So our least common denominator is x plus 5 times x plus 2 times x plus 3. And you leave it in the factored form like this. Okay, next, it's going to give you two fractions. Say 2 over 4x squared plus 27x plus 35 and 8x over 4x squared minus 17x minus 42. And what it's going to ask you to do is to write each one with the common denominator. So that means you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by what you need to make it so that it's a common denominator. So first off, we're going to factor both of them. So we're going to have 2 over 4x plus 7 and x plus 5 and 8x over 4x plus 7 and x minus 6. Okay, so we have 4x plus 7 in both of them, but in the first one, we do not have x minus 6. So we need to multiply both top and bottom by x minus 6. And for the bottom one, we don't have x plus 5. So we need to multiply both by x plus 5. Now for the answer here, we can just say in bracket 2 times x minus 6, and then in brackets 4x plus 7, x plus 5, x minus 6, and close the bracket. We can do it like this, or if you use the My Math Quill, you can do it in as a fraction. For this one, we'll have to write 8x times x plus 5 over 4x plus 7, x minus 6, x plus 5. So this is what it's asking for, is to change the original rational expression into a rational expression with the common denominator. So for whatever's missing, that's what you're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by. And that's to prepare us for the next ones where we actually add and subtract. So let's say we have 6x over 5x to the 3y plus 9y over 10xy to the 5. So what do we have in the second one that we don't have in the first one? Well, we have a 10 instead of a 5. That means we need to multiply this one at least by 2 over 2. But we also have 5 y's, but we only have 4 y's here. Or 1 y here, so we need another 4 y's. And we have more x's here, so we don't need to multiply by any more x's. For this one, though, we have a bigger number, so we don't need to multiply any more there. We have more y's, so we don't have to put any more y's. But in this one, we have 3 y's. This one, or x's, we only have 1 x here, so we need to multiply both top and bottom by x squared. So we're multiplying the first fraction by 2y to the 4 over 2y to the 4. The second one by x squared over x squared. When we do this, we're going to have 12 x y to the 4 over 5 or 10 x to the 3 y to the 5 plus 9 x squared y over 10 x to the 3 y to the 5. So now we have common denominators, so we can add, and it's going to be 12x y to the 4 plus 9 x squared y over 10 x to the 3 y to the 5. They aren't like terms, so we can't combine them, but we can factor out. We can factor out a 3, we can factor out an x, and we can factor out a y. So 3xy, and what we're left with is 4y to the 3 plus 3x. And that's all over 10 x to the 3 y to the 5. And now we can simplify this x with one of these, this y with one of these, and we keep the 3, and we're going to still have 4y to the 3 plus 3x, and it's all over, keep the 10. 10x to the 3 minus x, or divided by x to the 1 is x squared. Y to the 5 divided by y to the 1 is y to the 4. So our answer here is going to be 3 times, in parentheses, 4y to the 3 plus 3x all over 10x squared y to the 4. If you're not using my math quill, you're going to need to put brackets here and parentheses there. Again, though, I recommend using the math quill because it does make it easier. Next, let's say we have 11 over x plus 2 plus 3 over x minus 2. Okay, so what do we have in the first that we don't have in the second? It's x plus 2. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in parentheses and this one in parentheses. What do we have in the second that we don't have in the first? And it's x minus 2. So we're multiplying each of these by 1, but it's x minus 2 over x minus 2. This one is x plus 2 over x plus 2. So I'm going to distribute the 11. So I have 11x minus 22 over x plus 2, x minus 2, plus 3x plus 6 over x plus 2, x minus 2. Now I have common denominators, so I can combine the top. Since it's just a plus, I'm just going to add everything. 11x plus 3x is 14x. Minus 22 plus 6 is minus 16. All over x plus 2, x minus 2. We can factor out a 2 from the numerator, and we'll have 7x minus 8, and it's all over x plus 2, x minus 2. And again, leave everything factored. Don't do FOIL on these. And the reason you don't do FOIL is because you might be able to simplify. Okay, so the next that I have is 10x over x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 9 over x minus 2. And I'm going to put this in parentheses and this in parentheses. So this one's already factored, but I do need to factor this one. So I'll have 10 over x minus 2 plus 9 over x minus 2. Okay, so in this one we have 2 x minus 2's. In this one we only have 1 x minus 2. But we need 2 of them in both of them. So I'm going to multiply this one by x minus 2 over x minus 2. And I'm going to distribute the 9. So on this one I have 10 over x minus 2 times x minus 2 plus 9x minus 18 over x minus 2, x minus 2. When I combine like terms, I'm going to have 9x minus 8 or this should have been a 10x. So it's going to be 19x minus 18 over x minus 2, x minus 2. Make sure that you copy the right things down. This should have been 10x the whole time. But it's going to be 19x minus 18 over x minus 2 times x minus 2. We can't factor anything out or simplify. Okay, next, 3y over 4x minus 3y plus 4x over 3y minus 4x. Now note here, these are just opposites of each other. Here I have a positive 4x, here I have a negative 4x, here I have negative 3y, and here I have a positive 3y. So what I'm going to do is factor out a negative 1 here, which means that this negative is going to come up to here. So this is going to now be 3y over 4x minus 3y, and it's now minus 4x over 4x minus 3y. And I showed how to do all these in a previous lecture. All I did was factor out a negative 1, so the 4x becomes positive, the 3y becomes negative, and then I rearrange them so they're the same way here. So now I'm going to combine the two new fractions. So I have 3y minus 4x over 4x minus 3y. And now here again, they're just exact opposites of each other, right? Now what did I say that we can do when they're exact opposites of each other? The answer is just going to be negative 1. If you want, you can factor out the negative 1 out of this and you'll get the same thing. But if you just remember, a minus b over b minus a is always negative 1. Okay, so next, x squared plus x over x squared plus 30x plus 125 minus 1 over x plus 5. So I can't do anything with the second one, but I can factor the first one. And so I keep the x squared plus x. And I'm going to have x plus 25 and x plus 5. And we have minus 1 over x plus 5. So on the first one, I have an x plus 25 that I don't have on the second. So I'm going to multiply both the top and bottom by x plus 25. So here I'm going to have x squared plus x over x plus 25, x plus 5 minus x plus 25 over x plus 5, x plus 25. Now remember, when we're subtracting, put this top one in parentheses so you change the sign of everything. So when I put all of this under 1 or over 1 denominator, I'm going to have x squared plus x minus x minus 25 over x plus 5, x plus 25. So now what I can do is factor, or I'm going to combine like terms, and then I'm going to factor the numerator. So I have x squared, I have plus x minus x, which is 0, and then minus 25 over x plus 5, x plus 25. I have here a difference of two squares, which is x plus 5 times x minus 5 over x plus 5, x plus 25. I can cancel the x plus 5s, and I'm left with x minus 5 over x plus 25. Okay, so the next one is going to be a negative 6x plus 9 over x squared plus 4x minus 12 minus x plus 2 over 2 minus x. So again, we want our x's to be first and we want them to be positive. So I'm going to factor out a negative 1 here. And I'm going to factor the other denominator. So I have negative 6x plus 9. And it's x plus 6 x minus 2 minus x plus 2 over negative x minus 2. Okay, so I can move this to be plus and plus, so I don't need to worry about that. But I have an x minus 2 in both, but I don't have an x plus 6 in the second one. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x plus 6, or both top and bottom. I'll have a negative 6x plus 9 over x plus 6 times x minus 2. We have a minus minus, so it becomes a plus. And I'm going to multiply through here and get x squared plus 8x plus 12 over x plus 6, x minus 2. Now I'm going to combine like terms. I'll have x squared plus 2x plus 3 9 plus 12 plus 21 over x plus 6, x minus 2. So we can't really factor this one. So we're just going to leave it as x squared plus 2x plus 21 over x plus 6 times x minus 2. And the last one, say we have 3 over x plus 5 plus 8 over x minus 5 minus 3x over x squared minus 25. What I'm going to do is just factor this one, because it's a difference of two squares, so x plus 5, x minus 5. So that's what the denominator is here. So this one has an x plus 5, but it needs an x minus 5. This one has an x minus 5, so it needs an x plus 5. And remember that it has to be x minus 5 over x minus 5 and x plus 5 over x plus 5. So distribute the 3, I get 3x minus 15 over x plus 5, x minus 5, plus 8x plus 40 over x plus 5, x minus 5, minus 3x over x plus 5, x minus 5. Now I have common denominators, so I can go straight across. 3x plus 8x minus 3x is 8x. Minus 15 plus 40 is plus 25. All over x plus 5, x minus 5. I can't factor anything out of the top, so this is as far as I go.